Welcome to Office 2016 video number 8. Hey, in this video, we got to see how to create a research paper in Word. Oh, research papers are no fun. Oh, but wait a second. Once you learn all the tricks in Word, creating a research paper is so much fun. The automated features that make things like citations, works cited that are in Word, make creating research papers fun. Now here's all of the topics we'll cover in this video. Now I'm going to close this Alt F4. Here's our base class website, people.highline.edu/mgirvin. I'm going to click on 216 Word, and I'm going to scroll down. You will need to download this research paper no format. That's going to be our starting point. I'm going to click on the notes for this class just so we can look at the Modern Language Association of America documentation style. Now here's an entire list of the requirements for our research paper using MLA. Now, this list is the list we're going to use. Many times there are modifications that people make to their particular documentation style. So be sure and ask your English teacher or your boss, or decide for yourself what combination of these rules work best for you. Now, we're going to use 12-point font, Times New Roman, double space everything, 1-inch margins. Indent the first line of each paragraph. We're going to have a header with our last name and the page number. We're not going to have a cover page. We're going to have that information at the top on the first page. The title is going to be centered. We're going to have citations. And citations in MLA are author references. So we'll have the author name and the page number in parentheses. That gives credit to the author for that particular idea. Optional notes, these will be footnotes for us. These are explanatory notes. Now here's the formatting for the footnotes we're going to use. We'll see that the footnote feature actually does an amazing job of doing this for us, although we will have to modify the built-in footnote style that comes in Word. Then we'll create our bibliography or works cited. That's a list of all of our sources. And all of this formatting will be done for us. Now I'm going to close this, Alt F4 on the browser. Now here's the file that you already should have downloaded. This is the research paper, no formatting. Now all we're going to do with this document is I don't want to spend the time typing this out. So we're going to keep this open. We're going to create a new document, create our research paper there, and then we'll come and copy and paste it over in the finished file. Now, as you guessed, this research paper is about boomerangs and how the different shapes for a 3-arm boomerang affects the flight. So in the middle of our research paper, we'll have this picture to clearly articulate what we mean by sweep of the boomerang wing. All right, I want to use Control-N to open up a blank Word document. Document 1 is a terrible name, so I'm going to use F12 to open up Save As. We're going to drill down to our Word folder. The name, Boomerang Research Paper Finished. Word document.docx is a fine extension. I'm going to click Save or hit Enter. Now I'm going to use Control and Roll. The very, very first thing we're going to do is go look at this amazing ribbon tab, References, and Citations and Bibliography. It's going to be amazing. There's where we list our references or sources. We can insert citations. We can insert an automatic bibliography. We can insert a footnote. But the very first thing we do, notice it comes by default with APA, American Psychological Association. And we want to change this all the way down here to MLA. Now, what's so cool about this is when we change the documentation style here, the other features that we're going to use will more or less know what's required for that style. That's step one. Our next step is going to be, let's check the margins, because one of the requirements is that the margins all have to be 1 inch. We go over to Layout, Page Setup, click the dialog launcher, or we're going to use our Alt keyboard, Alt PSP. Now, Alt PSP, like I mentioned earlier, we'll be able to use that over in Excel also. Look at that. The page setup or section level formatting is already by default what we want for our documentation style. I'm going to click Escape. The next thing that's required is up here. This is the header. The actual margin area is where we can put some text or page numbers. And this style requires that we have our name and the page number. Now, putting the margin in edit mode to edit our header is as simple as double-clicking the margin. Now, very importantly, it opens up the header and footer tools design. And we can do some things or type stuff here. But most importantly, remember there's a red X here. I don't know how many times students or even myself, when I'm not paying attention, I'm working on my header or my footer, and I forget to get back to typing the research paper. I have to click that red X, or I can click Escape. All right, I'm going to double click. Now, in this style, our name and page number has to be aligned to the right. Now, I want to show you something. Look at my cursor right there. I forget what the name of this is, but notice it has an icon there for center alignment. When I move my cursor over here, there's the icon for left, and there's the icon for right. If you double click over here, it automatically aligns right. Control Z, of course, if you know the keyboards, L for left, R for right, I can simply Control R. Now, you're going to type your last name, whatever it is. Then you're going to type a space. Again, this documentation style requires that the author's name is there, and then we have a page number. Now, I absolutely do not want to type the number 1, because then when I get to page 2, 3, 4, 5, I would have to re-edit this header and type a number 1 there. So I'm going to backspace. And we have some secret code up in header and footer design, over in header and footer, the drop down for page number. Now we're going to use current position, and we're going to use the plain number. If I click that, it puts some secret code there. Now I want to prove that that's secret code. I'm going to remember to click the red X or Escape. Now notice we haven't done anything yet, but let's send our cursor to the next page to make sure that this automatic header will update and show us page 2, 3, and so on. I'm going to use Control Enter. Look at that. That's like magic. It's automatically incrementing. Control Enter. There's the page 3. Now I'm going to Control Z, Z. And we're back up to the top. Now, headers and footers, as you might imagine, are section level formatting, just like margins are section level formatting. You actually can create different headers and footers in different sections if you wanted. We're not going to do that. Now, one thing this style does not require, I'm going to break the rule of our written styles there, is I'm going to come down and double click right in the footer, and then I'm going to align. I'm going to use my cursor here, and the keyboard is Control E to center align, but I'm going to use my cursor there. Double click. That is so cool. Now I'm going to break the rules here because any document with multiple pages, I like to have at the very bottom, and this is true in Excel and PowerPoint too, I like to have at the very bottom page 1 of 4, page 2 of 4, and so on. Now we're going to do the same thing, header and footer, the drop down, current position. But instead of plain number, I want to scroll down just a little bit, and there's a page X of Y. Let's click. Oh, look at that. it didn't obey my alignment. I'm going to Control E to center that. Now, if I click Escape, it'll do the same thing. If I Control Enter, there's a 2 at the top, and I already see that it says page 1 of 2. But if I scroll down, that is so cool. 2 of 2. Control Z. Now, we want to put at the very top, instead of a cover page like in APA style, we want to have our name, the name of the professor, the class we're in, and the date. Then we want to center our paper title. Now, I want to have double line spacing. And double line spacing is a paragraph level formatting. I'm going to right-click Paragraph. Notice this is the only paragraph in our paper, so I'm going to set the paragraph level formatting. So as I hit Enter, it will carry forward. I don't want any spacing after. I want to come over to line spacing double. Now, we'll come back and do this amazing indentation when we get down to the paragraphs where we actually write our paper. I'm going to click OK. Now, we're going to type your full name first and last, and then hit Enter. There's our double spacing. The professor's name, Professor Turk, Enter. This is for English 101, and Enter. Now I want to insert today's date. Now, instead of going up to Insert, all the way over to Text and Date, since this is such a common task in Word, we want to use our Alt keyboards, Alt-ND. I'm going to down arrow to October 7th and Enter to insert that. Now I'm going to hit Enter. We want the title of our paper. And this is supposed to be centered. I could Control E, but look at my cursor. It's still, for any paragraph in my paper, got that little icon, so I can double click and it centers it. Now, the name of this paper is How Boomerang Shape Affects Flight of 3 Winged Boomerangs. Now I hit Enter. Looks like I misspelled boomerangs. Right-click, and hopefully it has it somewhere there. I'm going to select that boomerang. Now, I have my cursor right here, and this is where we start to type our paper. Right-click, Paragraph. The first thing we want is we definitely need it left. And in indentation, we want to select first line. Now, first line is awesome, especially when you're typing your paper out. This means that every single hard return, as soon as you start typing, there'll be only a first line indent, and in our case, a ½ inch. I'm going to click OK. Now, I'm going to Control S, and I'm going to use Alt-Tab to jump over to our no formatting file. And very carefully, I want to click at the beginning of this paper, and I'm going to come all the way to the end. And before clicking, I'm holding Shift. Now I'm going to Control C, Alt-Tab, and Control V. Oh, my heavens. Wait a second. I did all that paragraph level formatting. I thought that as I type new text, that first line indent double spacing would carry forward. Oh, yeah. It's still there. It's just that it's only in that paragraph mark. When I pasted this text, as is always the case in Word, PowerPoint, and Excel, when I copy and paste, it takes the formatting and the content. Luckily, we have these Control Smart Tags. And these Control Smart Tags will be in PowerPoint and Excel also. They are a big time saver. I'm going to very carefully come to Keep Text Only. I love that. Look at that. There's my first line indent for each one of my paragraphs. Now, notice right here there was supposed to be a picture. Alt-Tab. I'm going to click on the picture. Control-C, Alt-Tab. Very carefully with my cursor right here. I'm actually going to backspace. There's a non-printing character there for a space. Backspace. Control-V. Now, I want to come over here. I don't think the Smart Tag will help us here. I want to right-click Paragraph because I want to check. I do not want first line indent for this picture. I want it to be centered on the page. If I came up and selected Center right here and clicked OK, it's still got the first line indent, which makes it askew, not centered. So right-click Paragraph. And I'm going to remove the first line indent just for this paragraph and click OK. That's much better. All right, now let's come back up to the top. This paper will present information about how the shape of a three-winged boomerang affects the flight. The conclusions will be based on research done by various boomerang experts and on boomerangs constructed and tested specifically for this paper. In particular, 3 different variations of the three-winged boomerangs will be tested. The variations are as follows. I definitely want to highlight these 3 and add numbers. There you go. So I clicked on Paragraph, Level Formatting, Numbering. Now, right here, if we continued reading this, this is really a continuation of the paragraph from above. Right-click Paragraph and remove first line. None, click OK. For the constructed boomerangs, all boomerangs crafted are right-handed, and each of the 3 wings on each of the boomerangs had the same amount of sweep. See pictures below for visuals. Swept to the left, no sweep, swept to the right. Now, we're not going to read the whole research paper, but we do want to see how to put in citations. Now, in this documentation style, notice it says, according to Michael Sims. And then that information there has to be attributed to him and refer to an item in the bibliography or work cited. So at the end of this sentence, there it says, and higher. I'm going to put my cursor right before the period and type a space. And now we are allowed to insert a citation and enter the item for the bibliography at the same time. We go up to References, Insert Citation. Because we have no items, and I'm going to click Escape, in Manage Sources. If I click this, we don't have any items for our bibliography. What they do is if you don't have any items, you click the drop-down, and right here, it'll simultaneously insert the citation and add a new source for the works cited or bibliography. So I'm going to click that. Now, the great thing about Word is you have a drop-down. If I select Book, it will suggest the fields that I should enter. If I select drop-down Website, it will suggest a different set of items to enter. We're going to enter Book. Now, we'll click in the author, and I'm going to type this out here. These citations and sources are actually listed in the PDF notes, which are at our class website and are also available below the video. Now, for author, we can click Edit, the last name, Tab, the first name. Now I'm going to click Add and OK. The title, Tab, the Ultimate Boomerang Book, Tab. It was written in 1996, Tab. The city where it was published, Portland, Tab. The publisher, Doug Dufresne, Tab. The medium is book. Now, if you ever get to a particular selected medium here and you want to add a field that's not here, you can click Show All Bibliography Fields. And there's a lot of them. And I'm going to uncheck that. There we go. Click OK. And look at that. It has the author's name, which will come and edit it in just a second. But if we come up to Manage Sources, there it is. It's already in our list. This is where we accumulate our list of references. And then later, we just click a button, and it creates our bibliography or works cited for us automatically. I'm going to click Escape. Now, our style says to have the author name and page number. So I'm going to click inside, and then this box with a dot, dot, dot gray, and a gray bar with a drop down appears. I want to say Edit Citation. You can also get to that source dialog box we saw just a second ago by clicking Edit Source. Edit Citation. I'd like to put the page number. This was on page 43 to 44. Now, when I click OK, it lists seams in 43 to 44. Now, you can leave it like that, but oftentimes, if the author's name is already in the sentence, then we can click the drop-down, Edit Citation, and suppress author name. Now, when I click OK, it's going to give us the title, but we don't want that. So after you get the hang of it, you know to suppress the author and the title. That way, it only shows the page number. Click OK. Now, we're going to scroll down to page 2, and there's the first sentence and then the second sentence. A design like this is good for crafting a boomerang with a mid to long range. Right after range, I'm going to put my cursor, space, and now I want to insert a citation, new source. This is going to also be a book. The author, click Edit, Bernard, tab, Mason, tab, S period. Enter to add, enter for OK. Now I'm going to tab, tab, the title. How to Make and Throw Them, tab, 1974, tab, New York, tab, Dover Publications, and this is a book. Now I'm going to click OK. Now I made a mistake there. No problem. I'm going to click the gray bar, drop down, and Edit Source. I got the names backwards. Now, actually, you don't have to go over to Edit. You can simply come here. I'm going to Control X, backspace, backspace, space, Home key, Control V, backspace, comma, space. So I mixed up the names. No problem. I can edit. Click OK. It asks me, this source exists in your master list and current document. Do you want to update both lists and these changes? Absolutely. So we'll update this citation and the bibliography. Now, the name isn't in the sentence, so I'm going to click the drop down, Edit Citation, and add the page number, 143, and enter. Now, in the same paragraph, at the very end, last sentence, after plans, I'm going to type a space. Come up to Insert, New Source. This is going to be a website. The author, I'm going to type this out. Pierre Kudek. Tab, tab, tab. The name of the web page. Tab. The year is 2015. Tab, September. Tab, the day is 28. Tab, the year we accessed it was 2017. January, tab, 23, tab, web page. Click OK. Now, this is a web page, so we're not going to list the author. I'm going to click the drop down, Edit Citation, and I want to suppress the author and show the title. Click OK. Now, we've added 3 citations and 3 sources. Now, we want to see how to add a footnote. So here's our 4th paragraph. For wings that are swept to the right, the theory suggests that the 3-wing boomerang will tend to fly low and require a hard throw. This sort of shape is especially useful for designing fast catch boomerangs used in boomerang tournaments. Now, oftentimes you don't want to disturb the flow of the paper, but you might want to add an explanatory note, like what is fast catch. So after the period, we're going to go up to Reference, Footnotes, and click on this big button here. Look at that. It added a superscript 1. It added the line. Now let's go get the text that we're going to paste this. Alt-Tab. It's the text at the very end. I'm going to highlight this. Control-C, Alt-Tab. Now I might be smart here, because I know if I paste it, it's going to take the formatting from that other document. So I'm going to right-click and try Keep Text Only. That didn't work. The reason why is there is a built-in style applied for footnotes. It's part of the footnote feature. Now, if you have a style, there's lots of styles over in Home. This styles group, you can even build your own. Next video, we'll talk about heading 1 style. But there's a built-in style here, and we want to modify it. So I'm going to come somewhere in this footnote. And because there's a style, I can right-click Style. If there is no style, like up here, right-click, you don't see style. Right? That text has no style. But this text does. Right-click, Style. This will open up the Styles dialog box. Now watch this. We need to modify footnote text. So I'm going to click the Modify button. Wow, so we're 2 dialog boxes deep. Now we need to add Times New Roman. I'm going to click the drop down and type the letter T. I see Times New Roman. We actually will have to add Times New Roman to the body of our research paper later. And font size 12. But there's also paragraph level formatting. And I don't see first line indent here. So down at the bottom, there's a drop down for format. Oh, look at that. We have all sorts of different formatting we can do. There's our paragraph level formatting dialog box. I click, and there it is. This requires a first line indent. We need double spacing. All right, so we're 3 dialog boxes deep. I'm going to click OK, click OK. And the cool thing about styles is it's universal for this document. So if we add lots of other footnotes, the footnote style, because we've modified it, will be applied wherever we use the footnote style. Click Apply, and there it is. Now we actually have a 4th reference. And if we read this, the speed events at a boomerang tournament are fast catch and endurance. Fast catch and endurance are events that require boomerangs to stay low for speed and demand a hard throw to get it to come back quickly. All right, I want to add yet another citation and source. Space, up to reference, drop down, add new source. This is going to be a book also, right at the top. Now I'm going to click Edit here because there's 2 authors. Now I added the last and first. I'm going to click Add and then add a second author. Now I can click Add. OK. And there are the 2 authors. The title, Boomerang, How to Throw, Catch, and Make It. Tab. The year is 1985. Tab. The city, New York. Tab. The publisher, Workman Publishing. Tab. The medium is book. Click OK. We'll come over and click inside the gray drop-down, Edit Citation, and the page number is 69 to 70. Click OK. Now, we really should have done this at the beginning. We should have added our font and font size. I'm first going to double-click to edit my header. I'm going to select it all, right-click, and up here, change it to 12 and Times New Roman. Escape. Also the footer. Double-click, highlight it all, right-click, and up on the mini toolbar, I'm going to change it to 12 and Times New Roman. I can click the red X or Escape. Now I need to select everything, so I use Control-A, right-click. There's 12, and there's Times New Roman. All right, now I want to click right where the title is. And we're supposed to have just this single space here, but I'm going to violate the rule again. It's too confusing to see like this. I want to separate the title here from the first paragraph, so I'm simply going to hit Enter. Now, as we look through, that is amazing. We have our footer. We have our header, citation, and sources. Scroll all the way down. There's our footnote. If I come to the very end, now we need to insert our bibliography on a new page. So, of course, Control-Enter. We entered a page break using a keyboard. Now, that's not going to work. Right-click Paragraph. We have to remove the first line, none, click OK. Now we want to insert the bibliography, so we go up to References. In Citations and Bibliography, I click the drop-down, and I'm going to select Works Cited. And there we go. Now, I want to add Times New Roman to this. And if I click right there, that, and I think if we go up to Home, we can see that's the Heading 1 style. And over here, it doesn't show up on this particular list. But we need to modify both of these. Now, I'm going to modify this particular style by coming up to Heading 1, right-click, Modify. I'm going to change it to black. I'm going to keep that one 16, but I'm going to change it to Times New Roman. Click OK. Also down here, this is a bibliography style. Right-click. And I don't see styles. I think it wants me to update this field. By the way, anytime you see gray here, that means there's some secret code behind the scenes making this work. If we double-click the header right there, that's gray. There's something secret behind the scenes. If I click up here, the fact that it's gray tells you that it is a field. There's some secret code behind the scenes making it automatically increment as we move forward. Now, if you want to look at the code, we don't need to look at the code ever, but Alt F9 toggles, and there's all the code for all of those fields. Alt F9 is a toggle. I tell you that just in case you accidentally get into this mode, you know that that's what's happening behind the scenes. Alt F9. All right, so I can't seem to get right-click style, so I have to go find the bibliography styles. Up in Styles, I click this drop-down. I don't see it, so now I'm going to come to the dialog launcher for styles. And there it is right there. Right-click, Modify. I'm going to change this to 12. Right-click, New Times Roman. Click OK. And there, it looks like we have finished our research paper. Control-S, Control-Home, Control-End. Now, I actually have to show you two more awesome tricks in Word. Now, we used the word three-winged boomerang many times. Now, I want to search through every instance because I'm not so sure that I remembered the hyphen every single time. And I want to be consistent. So I want to use the Find feature and find every instance of three-winged. Find is Home. I'm going to close this Styles. Home all the way over to Editing, and there is Find. Now, we're never going to use this button again. And the reason why is you can see the keyboard there. Control-F. That works everywhere. Not only in PowerPoint and Excel, it also works in browsers. If you are ever at a page, you click on some link from a Google result, and you can't find the part that had the item you were searching for, just use Control-F and search. All right, so we're going to try it here in Word. Control-F. It shows up over here. I already had it highlighted, so it assumed that I wanted that. Look at that. It even gives us some yellow indication. I can click through each of the item. I can scroll through the document. Look at all that yellow. I'm eyeing to see. It looks like for some mysterious reason that I was consistent. Usually it's the opposite. I forget. All right, that's fine. I also want to look at Replace. And Replace is up here. Replace has a keyboard here in Word and Excel, Control-H. That'll work in PowerPoint too, but it doesn't work in lots of other programs. So I'm going to click Replace or Control-H. Now, if I wanted to replace everything with rather than 3-wing, but get rid of the dash. Now, sometimes you can click Replace All. But that is dangerous. So it's usually, and it's dangerous, we don't have a good example here, is if you were replacing the word book with text, well, there's lots of words that contain book, bookworm, bookkeeper. So you would not want to do a replace all because you might end up with some very strange things. I'm simply going to click Find Next, and it will cycle through, and then you get to choose when to click Replace. Find Next, Find Next. It goes through and finds each occurrence and gives you the option of replacing it. Now, we're not going to replace it here. I'm going to click Escape. Control End. I don't know how many times replace has helped me to replace all the particular instances either in Word, PowerPoint, or Excel. By the way, find and replace work on formulas also, like when you get over to Excel. Now, the last trick we want to see. Now, I want to show you how to use autocorrect. I'm going to misspell the word the, and watch what happens when I type a space. Oh, it fixed it. So all of us have definitely seen autocorrect in action. But there's an amazing use for autocorrect. If I always type Highline College, I'm allowed to create a shorthand for Highline College. So I want my shorthand to be anytime I type HC space, the word Highline College appears. So I typed it. I'm going to highlight it, go up to File, down to Options, over to Proofing, and there it is, Autocorrect Options. It already has it there. All I'm going to do is type HC. When I click Add, click OK, click OK. This is simply amazing. Watch this. HC space. And just like that, I've created a shorthand. Another use for this is if you're typing some document and you have to use this name many, many, many times. I'm never going to use it except for in this document I'm typing. But the effort of typing it one time, going up to File, Options, Proofing, Autocorrect, and I'm going to type TT, Add, OK, OK. From now on in this document, every time I want that name, I type TT space, and there it is. So autocorrect can be used to create your own shorthand. All right, that was a lot of fun. We talked about autocorrect. We talked about replace and find. We saw how to automatically insert a works cited or bibliography that was based on managed sources, a bunch of sources that we entered in the process of creating citations, which we saw up here. We also saw how to insert a footnote, and we saw how to do footers and headers. And Control Home, we got to type our research paper for how different shapes affect the flight of three-armed boomerangs. All right, next video we'll see a Word and PowerPoint trick together, and that will be our transition into PowerPoint. All right, we'll see you next video.